baby. Welcome YouTube fam. Welcome IG fam. Facebook loading. Welcome Facebook family. That was a great time. It is going to be a good show, guys. So I just time about it. Wow. Oh yeah, can't forget Podbean. Those who listen on Podbean, thank you. And anyone who listens later on Spotify, all those types of places too, on all those different streaming platforms at the moment. So make sure you continue to check us out and share it. Welcome everybody. Welcome. DJ Dad here.
Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Pender Sr. Repping the shirt today, the long sleeve tee. The silk long sleeve tee.
Silk? I'm going to say it's not that high grade yet. But Chris Jr., as always, here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Devin Pender here to remind you guys to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
Yeah, man. Tonight's going to be a decent show. I'm kind of surprised there's a lot of folk not on because I got a lot of comments about our topic tonight, this thing called life.
But I'm sure people will jump in here, once we get things going, as per usual.
Yeah, it's interesting because, man, I think there's so many people who are going through so many things. And especially what I'm learning working with young people, man, for some reason, young people think life is supposed to be easy. For some reason, their favorite phrase is, it's not fair. And I'm dumbfounded by it. But I want to start off with, I got to read this quote by Dr. Martin Luther King, man. It's something that I think is applicable to what we're talking about today. He says, now, the thing about the length of life, after accepting ourselves and our tools, we must discover what we are called to do. And once we discover it, we should set out to do it with all the strength and all the power that we have in our systems. After we've discovered what God called us to do, after we've discovered our life's work, we should set out to do that work as well that the living, the dead, or the unborn couldn't do it any better. This is my favorite part. There will be a day, and the question won't be, how many awards did you get in life? Not that day, it won't be, how popular were you in a social setting? That won't be the question that day. It will not ask how many degrees you've been able to get. The question that day will not be concerned on whether you had a PhD or no D at all. I like that, man. It won't be concerned whether you went to Morehouse or whether you went to no house. The question that day will not be how beautiful is your house. The question that day will not be how much money did you accumulate. How much did you have in stocks or bonds? The question that day will not be what kind of automobile did you have. On that day, the question will be, what did you do for others?
Yeah. Nobody thinks like that anymore.
Oh, but I think, but it's funny. You're right. I agree. And that's from like in the 60s. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, how relevant that is still today. Mm-hmm. And I think, everybody always, the infamous question that's been going on forever is, what do they say? What's the mystery of life kind of thing? The movie City Slickers and Billy Crystal, he asked the question, what's that one thing? And I think the answer to that for a lot of people, man, is they don't know.
Yeah, I feel like life, we're at an interesting point in time, I like to think, in history. Like, we have access to so many different things. And I think that certainly has impacted, like you said, some young people and how they just think that things are supposed to be instant gratification and there's no necessarily other side to those things. I think it's just the glitz and glam that have people kind of not seeing that there are some trials that come with chasing something of substance or something great. Like, not everything is just going to be like this easy route or road.
But I got news for you. Trials come whether you're chasing something or not.
Yeah, true.
That's life.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to several people, and several people say the same thing. Man, it just feels like I can't do anything right. It just feels like it's one thing after another, after another, after another. Mm-hmm. And that's just in one area of their lives. And I'm talking about professional. I'm talking about overall. It's kind of the thing is, you get a flat tire, it starts raining, and your umbrella's broke, and it just starts piling on. You had a long day at the office. You go home. Your wife is on you. The kids is going crazy. The dog done pooped on the floor. There's a lot of stuff that people deal with on an everyday. Check this out. This is a stat I got to share with you. I learned this weekend. I think this fits into our conversation. The average human being has 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
45,000 of them on the average human being are negative. Is that amazing? Somebody said it, and I went and researched it, and that's what statistics say.
When you say negative, you mean like towards other people?
No, negative towards parents. Just a negative thought.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, wow. And then I'm wondering, like, yo, what about the people who have more than 45,000?
Everyone's a pessimist. It's like really,
Yeah.
I think that's the norm.
But that contributes to how you view life. That contributes. It's almost like to have full, half empty. People people who say the glass is half full, focus on what they have. People say it's half empty, focus on what they don't have.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes I think people just kind of don't necessarily even view it in that sense. They just are creatures of habit. Like that's the areas in which they in. And
still negative is damaging.
It is, not to say that it isn't damaging, but yeah, I just feel like nobody looks at it as like it's just a negative way of thinking.
But
unfortunately, people just kind of fall in line and think it's a way of life.
But in this case, ignorance is not bliss.
Right.
Just because you don't know, I mean, I agree with you, but just because you don't know, it doesn't exempt you from the consequences.
Yeah. Like, think of the idea, get it out the mud. Like, everybody wants to have that kind of image of like, yeah, it has to look a certain way or feel a certain way, They even just, they like it or enjoy it almost. It's glorified.
Yeah, but I think there's a thin line between successful people and not successful people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key ingredients is how you look at life. How you view obstacles, how you view mistakes. For instance, some people look at obstacles as a sign that I shouldn't be doing this.
Uh-huh.
Some people look at obstacles, you know what, this is just one thing I have to conquer. This is a learning opportunity for me. I can get around this. So that plays a part in you being successful. Yeah. Because if you say this is, and it just stuff happens sometimes poor planning, sometimes you make poor decisions, that's not a sign, but people say that's a sign. I think how we view stuff, how we view ourselves has a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. Because if I got 50, if I got 50, 60,000 negative thoughts, most of them are probably going to be about myself, low self-esteem. I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy of that. Or it wasn't meant to work out in the first place. So I quit before I really get into it. That plays a huge part of how we see ourselves. Your mind is the computer that drives the whole thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think you kind of see it though with how people are, acting in society. Especially with our kids, they lash out. You see it in adults, probably hear a lot more kind of violent crimes, even though they say crime is down. But still, I think it's like you see things that you normally wouldn't see. Like people honestly don't have a real regard for life, I feel like, which kind of impacts, how they handle certain situations that come to them. I'm kind of nervous in a sense, even kind of being in the city and just seeing certain things. You want to see or hope that there will be a turnaround, but sometimes it feels a little grim.
Because and I think people don't understand. It took decades for us to get like this, or at least a solid decade. It ain't gonna turn around in a day.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna turn around until there's a sense of awareness. If I'm not aware of something, I can't deal with it. And I think right now that we did a whole show on it. The mental aspect of it is being neglected. They're not dealing with these kids' psyche in school. Yep. It's basically if you pass a test, standardized testing. Yep. You could ace a standardized test, but just standardized test, but walk around school like a serial killer. Until you actually perform the act, people overlook it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we need a holistic approach to education is the key. You need to talk about mental health. You need to have health classes. When I was in school, we had health classes. And health classes can talk about mental health. Mental health is a real issue. Like I was when they said it was a mental health workshop, and when dude said it, I was like, come on, that's I got to check that number out, man. I thought, man, I thought 70,000 thoughts a day was crazy. But then when they said 45,000,
I can see it.
Negative thoughts. That's a lot of negative thoughts. And you know what? This is the odd thing about it. Everybody I shared that with said what you said.
Yeah.
Not one person was surprised. Like, man, that's a lot of negative thoughts. Not one person, which blew me away. I talked to at least 10 people, and they all said this, they weren't surprised.
Yeah. Because I feel like I kind of look at it again, being of the social media age, like you can see things online and just kind of see, even in the news, I kind of leaned a little bit more towards that now too, like reading and looking at the news, and you just see with some of how people react to certain things, you definitely feel like they're hurting. They're at a down.
Yeah, there's a lot of walking wounded out there.
Yeah, and they don't know necessarily how to maneuver and move and pick themselves up and move forward. Like, I feel like we're all kind of well-rounded and know how to handle the ups and downs, and certainly know that life comes with that and has its challenges. But I do feel like there's still kind of people who, they struggle with that.
But think about the term average, though. The word average is what kind of drew my attention, because the average means all age groups.
Mm-hmm.
Average doesn't mean, Generation X, millennials. It's all age groups. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's, if you say one age group, yeah, but you're talking about average person. That's, that's, to me, that's like, man.
They start breaking that down too now. The average millennial, average.
No, but if you do an average group, that's much smaller than the average person.
Yeah.
They do break it down, but for this thing, that's amazing. Then you think about the suicide rate is up. To your point, violent crimes are up. I was watching something the other day. Your mom was watching it, I was kind of walking past, and they talked about how the number of hate crimes, is beginning to shoot through the roof.
Uh-huh.
And I was listening to this guy the other day, and he said something that was true. He said, we don't use the name anymore, but there's a lot of cults being formed right out in front of everybody. People don't use the name anymore, and they're not like Jim Jones drinking the Kool-Aid, killing themselves. But there's a lot of people who follow people and get so caught up on the person. It's not even about the cause anymore.
Yeah, very true.
So, but I think that goes back to how you see yourself. Because if I see myself as being less than, and I can live vicariously through somebody else, that's what I do. So now I'm going to attach myself to that person, because this person's doing everything that I want to do that I think I can do.
Just real quick, I know I want to get back to your point, because I know you mentioned, the ups and downs of life in general, and I wanted to get your thoughts. It's coming from the Huff Post, by the way. There's 10 tips for riding life's ups and downs. I'm assuming this is this person's opinion, because there's no real,
it's always somebody's opinion.
Answer.
Yeah.
But the first one is relax. The second one,
let's go back to the first one.
Yeah, you want to go. You want to dive in.
Yeah, let's go back to
relax. Practice a relaxation technique regularly to cope with stress and prevent depression.
Now, see, that's somebody to me who's probably rich and never been through. I'm still being honest. Because if you're really going through, it's easy to say relax, but if you're trying to figure out how you're gonna pay your bills, how you're gonna eat, or I met with a group of guys, young men today, and they called me in school for emergency to meet some guys that was involved in a bad situation. So I was explaining to them what their moms must be going through. You would tell their moms to relax when your kid is out there, gunshots have been fired and all kind of crazy. Come on, it's easy to say, yeah, I'm writing an article, I can relax. But if you're in the middle of that, something is easy to say relax. Yeah. That's like, I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but who cares? That's when I hear people tell a pregnant woman just breathe. It still hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no amount of breathing.
Practice your breathing. Yeah.
But again, that was the next point. No.
That was the next point.
No, but I think the relaxed part is kind of like it's like a hard thing to say to somebody,
Number one, I can see it was farther down the list, but number one,
the first thing is, this list is pretty crazy. I'm gonna be honest. The second one, put on your track shoes or your dancing shoes and get moving.
This is funny now.
You have to find one. Let's see if there's one for black people.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but I'm like, yo.
Because I'm like, maybe people dance. I can't take that.
Yeah, but everybody's not physically capable of. That's the problem with that. You're not physically capable of doing that. Like, okay, for me, I go outside and I cut my grass. I work in the yard. That's why I refuse to hire somebody. Mm-hmm. But everybody don't have grass to cut. You know what I mean? So I can't. That's like me pregnant here. Go out and cut the grass. Everybody does it. You know, everybody. Maybe you can't run, or maybe if you run, you think you run the wrong neighborhood. The cops get you, or the crooks get you.
Yeah.
Also true.
And I hate running. I hate running.
Yeah, I don't really.
So that's gonna make me feel worse. But anyway, go ahead. What's number 3? My critique.
All right. Well, that was number 3 is socialize. For someone, now I'm speaking for myself, by the way. For someone like me, I have a social meter. So when I hear socialize, yeah, that's fine. But there's times that I also like, being quiet and by myself.
Here I go again.
Socialize. I mean, again, I think this is not a list that I feel like
this here I go again. Here I go again. Because if you socialize with the wrong people, you're having a pity party. Everybody's complaining. I think it's an exclamation point.
But
it's
still,
a pity party.
Yeah.
So I mean, it depends. And plus, everybody's not equipped to give you advice or good advice. And sometimes, I right over there at my desk, man. I sit down, man.
But I guess in a general sense, it's not assuming that you're gonna be hanging out with crappy people,
But everybody can't guide you through your situation. They don't necessarily have to be a crappy person.
Yeah.
Everybody's not capable of guiding you through your situation.
Mm.
They have good intent. There's the guy he's been divorced 12 times. Let me tell you, Chris. Let me tell you what you do. I don't think I'm taking that advice. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
This is an interesting list.
This fourth one definitely makes me think this is definitely written by an off-white person. I'll say that. Commune with nature.
Oh, no. Let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you what I thought that. Because I thought that until Saturday. Now, I don't know how true this is. You're the camper in a bunch, so you can answer this question. No. What they said was, if you walk around bare feet, and hear me out. I say the same thing, and I don't know if I'm gonna try it out like go out on my lawn. It says if you walk around. They said if you walk around in your bare feet, and it sounds a little hippie-ish to me, that you get the energy from the earth. I'm just telling you what they told me. Dude, one of the dudes said,
I went camping, but I was not out there in my bare feet.
But I'm just telling you, one of the dudes on the panel.
Once you try it, now you do everything they do.
These are trained therapists, and I don't know how reactive I'm paying the therapy till we can walk around barefoot in grass. But these are trained therapists, and one of them said, "Commune back to nature." Another guy said, "Yeah, he was dating this girl. He didn't believe it at first. He really liked it, so he tried that." And he says, I'm just saying. So on the list, and these are all black dudes. These are all black dudes, man. I'm just saying.
It does feel good sometimes walking around.
See, he did it. I don't know. I've never done it. But I got to ask you and McKenzie, I guess.
It does feel pretty good.
But that's what he said. They said it relaxes you. I don't know.
Until you step in glass.
If you want to commune with nature, you can start with your shoes on. You don't have to.
All right. The fifth one, I actually like this one. Laugh regularly.
I enjoy that. I really do.
Something has to make me laugh, though. I'm just not going to.
Come on, man. Nobody's saying just randomly bust out laughing. It's funny. It's shows out there that are funny. It's like
or things in life in general that
our sense of humor is different.
You gotta watch older shows, reruns.
Our sense of humor is different. But I would agree with that. Laughing does make you. It takes you. Now here I go again. See, laughter does See, all these things.
I'm saying now you're like 1 for 5.
No, I think laughter works, but is it sustainable? See, I'm thinking in terms of this temporary relief. Is it sustainable? Because it's like when I'm talking to people, when they're in rehab, the reason why they're in rehab is because they thought they found something to fix their situation. The problem with it is the device you use, if it goes away, you need more. So I don't know. I'm just saying, what's your 24-hour comedy thing? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I mean, is it sustainable? A podcast where you can listen to comedy stand-ups and it's like Richard Pryor and older comedians.
Oh yeah, I can see.
It's comics forever.
No, I'm just saying. So I'm not doubting it, but I mean, the last 2 is better than the first 3. Well, I'm sorry.
The 6th one, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts because I feel like this would be tough for a lot of people. But eat well.
Well, I'm not. See if I say something, you're gonna sit here. Yeah, but I'm gonna say something anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, see again, go back. See, that's not definitive because eat well is different for everybody.
Very true. It is. Some people you make do
Yeah.
what you got.
And if you have a financial problem, was eating well. I mean, so I think I'm not that one. I got to kind of put an asterisk side. I mean, and eating has never made me feel better. I'm just saying, to me, it's never made me feel better. It may have given me a sense of content, but to me, eating doesn't. It doesn't.
I mean, it is funny because like when you're going through the article, it is like where it's for a certain demographic.
So you cheating? I can't see that.
Because if all you got is a cousin's grocery store or something, how do you
it's definitely.
But see what they rice,
but
rice and beans, whatever your meals. I just think it's just kind of generic, man. See, me, I'm thinking in terms of what's sustainable.
Something that be beneficial for everybody. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like again, I'm wondering if there's information.
Because I want to get to your list. I know I see you looking, so go ahead.
Number 7 is sleep. It doesn't say sleep well, it just says sleep.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Most times when you're having problems, you stressed out, you can't sleep. I'm just saying you can't sleep. Most of the time, that's the one thing I know. If I allow myself to get to a place, I got to rest this night. I'm not sleeping and resting.
I feel like this list again is definitely for certain group of people, but I'm hoping that I can find some information that's going to be more tailored to us.
Because I don't want to feel like I'm attacking everybody.
In this next one, and I never really understood.
That's you and they say
the saying, become a glass half full person.
That's what I just. Come on, man. They stole that. Yeah. Well,
you could have helped make this list.
No, I couldn't. No, because see, the glass half full, half empty is how you see the glass. People who see the glass half empty, they focus on what's not there. In other words, is what I would have when I listen. I didn't make my own list up. Is be grateful for what you have. I think that's a start. Is focus on what you have, not what you don't have, because we all can list it. So I'm gonna make my own list up when you finish. But I think being grateful for what you have is one of the first things you got to really take a look at. Grateful that you woke up in the morning. Grateful if you have your health. If you don't, that you have an opportunity. If you have financial issues, grateful that you can go out and earn money. I think you got to look at it that way, and that's where the glass half full come in. People see the glass half full; they focus on what they do have. That's the difference.
Yeah.
The 9th one, I actually do like this one. Find meaning.
The meaning of life. That was the question I was searching for. The meaning of life.
Is it that, or is it just like finding or having a purpose type thing?
Yeah, I guess it's like the same thing. Like, help someone else, volunteer, do a good deed for a neighbor, along those.
But I think. See, that's I gotta have a pen. I should have a pen because I'll be writing this down. Writing down my list because I think my list is better than that list, man.
I mean, listen. I think one thing that's interesting about the list that I've been trying to find here is like. When you look for top ways to deal with stress for African Americans, everything that comes up is race related. Like everything is racial. Like, is that the only form of stress that we deal with? Like, do you think so? Like, I think we have the same level of stress as everyone else. But I guess it's figuring out ways to deal with it that are.
Well, that's a whole different question because that conversation is starting to take off in a lot of different directions. Yeah. But I think knowing your purpose helps. I think and I'll get into that when I get to my list.
And the 10th one, and it said, this is the last tip. Keep in mind that nothing is forever. This too shall pass, and the seas will once again be calm, and the sun will shine again.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
That's a good one. I think that last one that they had on there, but
yeah, they finally hit it. Look at that, man. Look at that.
It took a couple attempts, but like you said, this list definitely seems like it's geared towards a certain demographic. And like, how would that list pertain to someone that may be from North Philly or like
just
could be from Atlanta?
But that's my point. Or if you're in a situation where, like, if you live in an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, is you and your wife, you're not fine. I mean, come on. So I think you got it there. That list right there, to me, I felt like for people who probably had, earning a good income and maybe just having a tough time. Because I think there's other things that to me are outweigh that, man. Chris is still looking for his list, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to find something that again doesn't necessarily focus on just racism, because I do feel like there's things that are impacting our community at a different, rate than any other community. And you would hope to find that there's strategies or some type of, curriculum that somebody might have put together that just
I'm on it.
dealt with, dealing with the stress of growing up, maybe in the inner city. I don't really see too much on that right now. I'm just trying to really dig deeper on that. And again, it doesn't always have to be like what I'm finding again, racism or discrimination. That's certainly something that's prevalent for us, but I don't think that's like at the top of everybody's list.
Yeah.
If you see what I'm saying.
But even even if it wasn't in order, some of that stuff I wouldn't even have on the list, man.
Yeah, like I don't think that's at the top of everybody's list. So it would be like if there was any type of information about how to deal with if you are growing up in a situation where you're poverty stricken. How do you deal with the stressors of that? Like, or dealing with, where your community is violence for that. Like, how do you deal with those type of stressors? It's not really too much on that. And I know actually it was funny. I'm thinking about it was a documentary. It's on Amazon Prime and Fox Soul, I believe, called Bad Things Happen in Philadelphia.
You were talking about that.
Great documentary. Check it out. But it kind of is a program. It's somebody that's actively doing something to help kids kind of get past that trauma of living in a neighborhood where things at times may kind of keep you down or have you feeling like this down. I don't think enough of that is really kind of highlighted or supported enough. And I don't think that, like I'm finding right now, information, everything is just really kind of focused on racism. And that's not even necessarily the biggest issue, I would say, that's impacting our community.
How many was
you
on
need
that
to
list?
think about that when it comes time for voting for politicians.
How many was
and
on
stuff
that
like
list?
that.
10.
It's like so many things that are plaguing our community. And I mean, honestly, racism is not that high on the list. Yes, does it exist? But I think there's things that can be addressed as well.
Well, I think, see, the thing about those lists that I think people need to understand, it's also relevant to where you live at and what your situation is. That, like, if I'm going through a situation where, I lost my job, my wife is pregnant, trying to figure it out, telling me to relax is not the answer. That's not the first thing I want to hear, because I hate that now. When somebody say, "Oh, relax, take a deep breath," that ain't never fixed nothing. That never changed anything unless you hyperventilate. So I think, I think that's where it has become more relevant to what you're doing and your situation in life. Like if I'm in the middle of North Philadelphia and I know when it gets dark, I need to be careful when I go outside. I'm not going to get outside and just start running through the neighborhood.
Right.
Those things you get. If I got a bad heart, I can't go outside and just start running. I think you got to factor those things in.
Yeah.
I think, and you also got to have a combination of things that pretty much, when people look at the list, Frank said food security. See, you want to eat. Frank like to eat.
Yeah.
Frank said,
everybody.
See, I don't know, but I got 8 here. Let me tell you what my 8 is, and I'll probably get 2 when I finish. I think the first thing, what I would tell people is, how you want to navigate this thing called life is learn to be grateful for what you have. Don't focus on what somebody else has. I think the biggest problem we have is we get so carried away about what I don't have. I'm driving a nice car, but I don't have a new car.
But we live in a society, honestly, everybody flaunts it. They like flaunting what they got online. Nobody's showing like, hey, I got this 2014 Jeep Cherokee and my air don't work. You trying to get up in there? You want to see?
But
people want the flashy stuff quick.
But that's why we create stress for ourselves, because I'm not making 2,000 whatever it is Cherokee money. So now if I do get the money to buy it, I'm car poor. So I create another form of stress for myself. Or I'm one of them people that, my car becomes my whole life. Don't scratch it, don't touch it, don't near it. So I think, that's why I'm saying you got to learn to be grateful for what you have. I'm not saying don't have desires, but be grateful for what you have. I think number 2 is you do need to find your purpose.
Yeah.
You need to figure out, because I think we spend so much time chasing all kind of stuff instead of figuring out what's our purpose. Why am I here? Because your purpose is tied to what makes you happy. How do you navigate this thing called life? At least find something that you want to do. If you got a job you hate, that's not going to make you feel any better.
Yeah.
If you're doing something you truly don't like to do, that you hate, that's not going to make you feel any better. So that's going to hurt you. Number 3, this is one of my favorite ones, or number 4, I should say. Focus on what you can change. I think too many times we get in situations and we focus on stuff we can't change instead of deal with what you can change first. And what I mean is, if you hate your job, look for a job. Don't be sitting around complaining, murdering, and groaning. Actively look for a job. Talk to people. Network. Hey, Dev, you know somebody hiring where you at? You got to start doing things. And I think that's part of it. People, because I've been there before when I was younger, you get caught up in the stuff you can't change. And it just causes stress because there's nothing you can do about it.
True.
Instead of dealing with what you can change first. The thing, seek like-minded individuals. You got to find folk, man, who are going to help you with positivity and not negativity. You don't need to be around a guy that's going to tell you how bad the world is in a handbasket and 89 people got murdered yesterday, man, and 54 boys. Yeah, man. You want to be around people, man, who help you illuminate the situation.
And striving for something.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Take long walks. You ain't got to run, but take a walk. And at lunchtime, if you're walking downtown in Center City, take a walk.
Yeah.
And soak in what's around you. Now I'm gonna try to bear. I gotta try this thing in my backyard. I gotta try. Who are you? Because it's in my backyard. It's my grass. I don't know. They say it worked. I don't agree with it, but they say it worked. I think the next thing I will say is, for me, I love music. I love music. To put on some headphones, it could be
depending on the music.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. For me, I love gospel music. I do. But there's sometimes, man, I love me some jazz, man. I'll put on some Coltrane or some Dizzy Gillespie. I'll put on different things on, Elephant Drum. So I like music. But see, the only reason, it depends on the word. Now, I don't want to hear something where the dog got bit and the cat died and the bird fell off the sky and my house burned down. They ain't gonna help me. They ain't gonna help me get the best situation. Yeah, I'm not gonna listen to hardcore rap to kill them, destroy them, beat them up. But music is a nice way to escape, and you can do that in your house. Put your headphones on or something and just escape. I think, and then let's say, take time to meditate or me time. Take some time, man. Just, I say this all the time.
Like sitting in silence? Or
what is that? Like just sitting in silence, take a bath with some candles.
Take a bath.
That ain't gay. Yeah,
I can't even
take a bath with some. But you know what you can do? You get in the shower, the steam. You can light a candle in the bathroom while you're in the shower. Turn the lights off and have some music or something playing just to take you.
Some ambiance.
That's why when you go to a spa, they don't have floodlights in the spa. They dim the lights. You can do
that's actually a good point.
Come on, I thought of course it's a good point. It's a good point. Why would they go to the spa when you can't afford? I think the next one is don't compare yourself to somebody else, man. You got to stop saying, because we get in this situation. Frank laughed at your cat died. Yeah, we get in this situation. We always comparing ourselves to somebody else. Man. Chris has problems. He don't, I don't, Devin has problems. They don't act like we do. We start comparing ourselves. Who cares?
I mean,
be the best version of you can be at that time.
A lot of people do it today,
They do, but up there.
They again, social media definitely makes it the culture where it's like, wow, this person
is doing this.
This. I could do that. Or why can't I?
Why didn't that happen to me?
Yeah. So I think
I agree.
That also, I think has impacted just people's mindset and why it's so easy to be negative too.
Yeah, but that's $45,000. That's Then my next one is turn off the TV. Come on, turn it off. Turn off the boob tube, the dumb box. Turn it off. You sitting there watching Friday the 13th, Freddy versus Jason number 18.
I do watch Friday.
And you wonder why you have negative thoughts in your head. Yo, come on, man. And you watch people being dismembered.
I watch the news.
Then you turn that off. Yeah, then you turn the news. The news is worse. Then you turn the news. And the thing about the news is the lies they tell now so evident, so blatant that it's like now you find yourself trying to figure out what's true and what's not true.
But again,
it's crazy.
I think that impacts just how people view life as well.
Yeah, but that's why you got to turn it off. Turn it off, man. If I had my way, I would have a national holiday where no TVs would be on.
No TVs.
No TVs could be on for a whole day.
They would try to take you out.
I would have no TV. Force people to talk to each other. And not just that, and the same thing, put your cell phone down, man.
You need to cut that off the airways.
Just put your cell phone down. They go right in with no TV.
Yeah, I think that's another thing too. Make sure you can take some breaks from that. But or just try to use it for different ways. I think that's what people forget. A lot of times they get lost you know, it's like you can go in there and find out so many different things, learn something new.
You know what's funny when you said like turn off the TV? I remember
Turn it off.
when I was a kid, a real young kid. Nickelodeon used to do this thing called a Worldwide Day of Play.
Nickelodeon.
And what that was is like literally they wouldn't show anything, no shows or nothing at all. It's kind of making you go outside.
I told you.
When was that?
This is when I was a kid, probably like
See, I'm telling you. And then my final one.
Now they got games.
My
Big
final
games.
one. My final one is analyze yourself. Could you have done something differently to not be in that situation? What could you do differently to not be in a situation again? What can you do to help yourself?
I think that's a great one.
Come on, man. I just put this list together.
No.
I probably got 10 more on the top of my head.
I really do think that's a great one because
Yeah.
I think people tend to put things outwards. They don't
It's
look
every
at
guy.
they don't necessarily look at themselves to think like, man, what could I have done differently, or what can I do different to change,
Like-
my perspective or position of where
I
I
was talking to a group of young men, and they went somewhere they wasn't supposed to go because they thought they were going to see a fight. So, gunshots ring out, all kind of stuff happen, man. They run, what the cops do. The cops always get the people who run. Isn't it odd how they typically don't get the people who stand around, the people who run and scatter. So
They look like they did something
yeah,
worse.
so we were talking about it, and I told him, I said, see, this didn't start when you got there. It started when you made a decision to go there. So you know what happens, and that's it always turns so melee. You know that. So you have to think before it happens. Not make the decision, not sit here and say, well, man, this could have been different. Or no, don't go. And I think this way you got to analyze yourself. What could I have done differently? What could I do differently? Is the same thing when I'm talking to guys and they're talking about not getting along with their wives. And I tell them the same thing. One, when she says something, look at how you respond. Are you responding the way that's keeping it going back and forth? Your body language, everything. Two, look at, do you have to respond? Do you have to respond? I know our human nature respond to everything, but some things you don't have to respond to everything. And the third thing is, could you have waited till a better time to respond? So you are, I think, any time you want to be successful, you got to have the ability to self-examine yourself. And I think when life beats you up, you do look, what can I do differently? What can I do to also? Now, for me, because I'm on the spiritual side, I got other stuff in there. Like to me, I pray. I pray every day, twice a day, mostly all day. I do that anyway. I get into my word. Because there's nothing in this world that's not in the Bible. That everything is covered. Also, when you spend time by yourself in the Bible, it makes you think that you focus on what you're reading. So I think for me, that's what I do. I like praise music. When I get down here, that's the band cave turn up. A lot of listen to music. I do. But it makes me feel better. So you got to find those things, man. And everything does not have to cost money. I got to tell you this, you know what I'm about to say now. I hang out with Mackenzie.
Yeah. Easy stress reliever for you.
Yeah, I do. Because he reminds me of Jesus talks about childlike faith. He reminds me of that because Mackenzie just everything all right with him.
He's just careless. He's just
he's like, yo, man,
like,
grandpa, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? Yeah, he does. He's dressed as devil. No, but when I that make it's cool to be around him because it reminds me of a time when we worried about stuff all the time, man. And we worry about stuff we can't control.
Nicole may say that's just because you temporarily, you don't have him as often, so you get those high key moments.
I know. He's here in Devon, though, and I'm not saying this in the bad way. He's here quite a bit. I get to pick him up from school a couple days a week. And I know he can be a handful. Like he torments him and Devin has this thing. They torment each other. They crack me up, man. They go at each other. They are funny. But you got to find ways, man, because life is difficult. Life is not easy. It was never supposed to be easy. It was not promised to be easy. And you got to find ways to navigate it because this is my saying. And if you hear it again, this is my saying. This originated from me. Either you live life or life lives you. That's the way it is. Either you live your life or life lives you. If you live in your life, you making decisions. You're doing the things you're supposed to do. If life is living you, you just going one day at a time. You just chilling, and whatever happens, you just kind of fall into the mindset. You got to make a decision to live your life, man. Too many of us, life is living us.
Yeah. I would say.
And bad stuff happens, man. It's no different than sports. You could be having the best seat, but you're going to have a bad game. Nobody's a perfect game every time out.
Yeah, I feel like kind of the whole kind of dealing with ups and downs certainly involves just having a mindset change. It kind of takes a complete overhaul in a sense, like we kind of started off the top of the hour here just talking about how most people have more negative thoughts than positive thoughts. And I think, again, that starts with just having a mindset change. All of these things, I'm sure people may be aware of, like if you work out, yeah, you feel good, you feel better.
But see,
I think it's a certain discipline too that has to come with that as well.
But see, I disagree. I don't think people are aware of it as much as you think it is.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think people get so used to lists like that. I think more people now go to lists and try to figure stuff out for themselves. I think that's why happiness has become so elusive to so many people, because they're looking for a list to make them happy. They're looking for something else to make them happy instead of trying to figure out for themselves what makes me happy. What am I happy doing? When am I happiest? We go to a list, we Google it, somebody always is telling us what we should do. We do. It happens all the time. I sit down and I talk to people.
I'm just looking for some guidance, some assistance.
I do workshops and I'll ask some people, 2 questions. What makes you happy and what makes you successful? Do you want to be successful? Everybody want to be successful, but then when you ask them they don't know. I want to be rich. Okay, well, how are you going to get rich? I don't know. You don't even, and what's your definition of rich? 10,000, a million, and then the same thing with happiness. Most people can't even define happiness. Oh, well, my wife has said, no, your happiness should never be dependent upon somebody else. And it should never be dependent upon your ability to purchase material things, because that can go away in a day. But it goes back to what I'm saying is, if you don't know the answers to those things, life is going to be tough, man, because you don't even know what you're chasing.
Yeah. Devin's laughing here because, we thought we found something that, 7 mental health tips for Black folks from Black therapists.
7 stuff on the list, man.
And how I just kind of spoke about how everything's racial most of the time. Tip number 1, recognize racial trauma as a mental health issue.
I was so ready for that. I thought it was going to be like...
Yeah, but see, and my issue with that is, maybe that's not your issue, though.
That's not the first thing you think of.
I recognize that it's real, but
it's real.
I said this to somebody Saturday, and it sparked a whole interest. The definition of trauma needs to be changed or needs to be used differently, because we always think trauma is murder or people are traumatized because they lost people in COVID that was in a house that they had to see, they witnessed that. People are traumatized because they said their mom and dad fight. There's so many things that cause trauma, and yeah, that's part of it, but that's not the leading topic of discussion for everybody. Some people don't even recognize racism. I hate to say it.
Yeah, some people don't.
I'm just being, I was talking to somebody today, and I'm realizing that young people that I deal with in high school, they don't understand that. No, you'd be surprised how many kids don't truly understand racism.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't, because they live in this cocoon. So what I'm saying is, I get it, but that's and I guess it depends on, that shouldn't lead the list.
And I think it's something that I mentioned and said earlier, something to really be aware of and, kind of have an understanding of. But I don't think that's the number one thing, like when it comes to
I'm working
our community.
I'm working like about 70 men right now, different components, different facets. And some of them, man, were traumatized because, you know what? They remember getting put out on the street because dad couldn't pay the bills.
Right.
Being embarrassed to their friends and everything, and nobody would take them in. They remember that.
Well, like you said,
they remember mom beating up dad, or dad and mom decided they didn't want him, and they just gave him to somebody else to take care of him. That's the other thing, and so that stuff has to be dealt with.
Right.
Because what happens is, now you grow up with a sense of insecurity, and now you view, and there's exception to the rule, but now you view life as, I can't trust anybody. I had a kid tell me last week, and I was shocked because people in the room looked around. He says, we were talking about responsibility, and part of responsibility is respect. And he was like, well, why should I respect my parents? All they do is let me live there. What you mean? I go to work, I pay 20% of the bills. For every bill I'm off, I pay 20%. I don't want anybody to depend on me. I don't want to depend on them. 17. So there's some trauma there. But the problem is, how's he going to be in a healthy relationship? Unless he changed the way he thinks, that's what he's going to pass on to his kids?
Probably.
So now it becomes generational.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we got to figure this thing called life out because we pass this stuff on,
We
man.
definitely do. And again,
We do, and
I think the purpose of us even going through this list is trying to find things that maybe out there for people to help. No, I like your list, and I feel like it's something that probably we need to put online for folks.
You finally gave me my props. Oh man,
no, we should put that online.
How many shows we had?
We should put that online. I definitely think we should put that list online. I like it because, like I just was saying, everything for us that I'm seeing has been on this focus of racism.
But I would add one more thing to this list.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll just go through the rest tomorrow.
I would add one more thing to this list, and that's everybody can. But if you could, you need to find somebody to talk to. You need to, if life is getting,
you mean like a mentor or just like a
if you can't do a therapist, if you can't, I recommend a therapist. But you need somebody to talk to. Nobody is meant to go through this alone because it causes. Then you get into physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get into deeper mental health issues. So I would recommend the last thing is find somebody to talk to, man. If not a therapist, hopefully you have a friend, somebody you can trust, who you can talk to. That is not going to be all over the place. It ain't going to be, spread rumors all over, and I could throw it back in your face. I remember when you were going through this, nah, but you do want to have that, man. I think that's important.
It is.
That's me and my therapist, Adam.
No, I think that's true. Like having somebody almost as like an outlet that you can kind of share things with and not feeling like you kind of carrying this burden. I feel like I personally probably need to get better at that at times to just be continuing to pile things on. But next on the list, after racial trauma and dealing with that, we don't necessarily agree there, but find personal meaning to reestablish a sense of control. I feel like your list is definitely going to have some of these things.
You see that.
You can't help it. He always finds something like
because do you really? Because my question would be, do you really have control?
I mean, it's saying try to find it.
I mean, to me, it's
try to find what you can control in life.
That's a mirage. I think that's
you just kind of said, ain't that your list?
Yes, no. I said control what you can control. That's saying find. I mean, come on. I'm saying if I got 10 things going on, maybe there's 5 things I can control. Then maybe there's 5 things I can't. I don't think anybody, and maybe I'm misinterpreting or reacting. There's no totality to controlling it because you don't.
No,
you don't.
You don't. But I think it's saying that the things that you can control.
Well, okay. If they say
there's
that,
something that you can control.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, there's some things that you can control in life that you will be able to try to focus on versus some of the things that are out of your control. I think that's what impacts people kind of having that negative mindset is they kind of focus on something that they can't necessarily impact in that moment,
That's what I thought.
So I think it is like maybe focusing on the small little things that you can kind of get your little wins. I think that's important,
I like that.
Keeps you happy. Yeah, keeps you going. Just having those little short victories.
Never celebrate little wins, but I like that.
I know. Validate and express your feelings through social supports.
Well, see, that's an interaction because Devin, that was in Devin's list.
Yeah.
But I gotta say this.
Having some friends, man. Like
but
leaving on people. Of course, the appropriate people. We're not saying hang out with people.
But it's saying validate. It's saying validate. Like I don't need you to validate what I'm going through, man. I don't need you to tell me like, man, you're really suffering. I already know that.
Not because you're suffering, but like maybe this. I was about to say.
I'm just saying, but to validate, like, oh man, I understand.
If you feel a certain way.
I disagree with idea.
Like if somebody's just like, I see and understand where you're coming from. That would be frustrating. That would be sad.
I don't think about validate.
That would be.
I need somebody to say, I appreciate you, bro. I love you, bro. We got this.
There would see this right here. But
I guess that's why I don't have a lot of friends. That's why I got a small inner circle, man.
Yeah, but again, I mean, sometimes it feels good to have those things.
Like Frank, I know Frank would be the man for me.
You can share things too. Like you have your spouse, mom. I'm sure you share things to her with, and
I do.
She validates.
But there's also things that I could share, and when you're in a long-term relationship, you'll see what I'm talking about. That they don't always quite understand.
True.
There's things that you go through that other people will not always understand.
Yeah. Hope to have friends for. But let's see. Take a moment to self-soothe, care for your body, and rest.
I like that.
That's what I said.
Treat yourself.
That's what I said. Create a spotlight atmosphere.
Spotlight.
Man.
You did say that. I did
I
say
said
you
that.
will have
Come
some
on.
things
I
on here
said
that kind of go with this list. Maybe again, you need to publish this. I give you your kudos.
Y'all need to get out of that.
I gave you your kudos. Put it out here for people to
You gotta
have.
get out of your manly feelings.
No,
Man,
what do you mean? I just was in here talking about opening up and validating emotions.
Spa is cool, man. Get a massage,
And
man.
now this guy's talking about get out of manly
The
feelings.
steaming rocks, man.
Connect with your spirituality and faith. So that's again another thing from your list here.
Support,
I think something
man.
that people can do, whether that's just kind of meditating, taking some time to yourself, and
Had a little talk with Jesus. That's what you got to do.
That's all you need to do. Talk about mental health care openly where possible. Now, how do you feel about that? There has been a big kind of, I would say, a push on mental health care within our community, and I think people are beginning to take that a little bit more seriously.
I think it's tough.
But what do you think about the idea of, talk about that openly where possible? I feel like we do it, so I'm waiting for you to say no.
I really understand it.
Devin's got this one. Devin's handling this one.
I think that's tough just because people are very afraid of being judged and the possibility of that happening.
Men in particular.
Yeah, you wanna talk about it openly just so you can get that off your chest. But at the same time, either you're gonna get judged or, like Dad said earlier, you're afraid someone might try to use that against you later on down the line.
So it's like, how do you remove that stigma?
Yeah. But I'm saying, I mean, you can't remove it from other people, but you have to be confident enough to have the courage to do it. Because some people think that's weak. You're weak if you're sharing your feelings. If you're saying that you're going through, you're struggling, they say it's weak. Or if you're in a position where, you think people look to you, you're afraid to be vulnerable in front of them because you think they have an image.
Remember, really, you're doing well. What if you're doing well? You're feeling good because of these things.
But I did a whole workshop on this. Probably 95% of the people you encounter wear a mask.
Yes.
So that's why, because nobody wants to talk about, man, my girl broke my heart, man, or nobody's gonna walk up to somebody.
Said you had to get
but mental health though, you sharing what's on your mind. You want to break down what's pushing your mind.
Hey, I'm going to see somebody and share a few things that I'm going through. You don't have to necessarily go into detail. Maybe it's about work.
But we talked about this before, though. But sometimes
you just encourage somebody like, man, it's working for me.
I don't need somebody that I got to tell half the story. I don't.
It's encouraging somebody else to just maybe, if you see them going through some things, you can say like, hey, this worked for me potentially.
So we just gonna say, okay, man, my cat died. That's the surface stuff we get.
Maybe.
That's how that ain't helping though. You need to be able to tell somebody, man, like, man, I'm just really going through it at home right now. I don't know which way I'm going. I don't know up and down. You need to be able to say that.
Yeah, you say it to the therapist.
Everybody can't afford it. And that's another thing. Black folk don't go to therapists like that. Man, use black therapists in the black community is a bad name. There are some
out there.
Free alternatives.
Let's go back. You know what? The prostate movie we're looking at. Your mom brought this up several times.
Prostate awareness.
And I don't know if you paid attention to it when it was a heavy discussion about people saying, "Oh, I'll believe a black doctor." Now, to me, that's ludicrous.
What?
That they'll believe a black doctor.
Just off the strength.
Yeah, come on, man.
I'm thinking about the quality of the doctor.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I do agree. You want somebody can relate, but your health is on the line. So what I'm saying is, you gotta have a healthy balance there, man.
Yeah, you really do.
You gotta have a healthy balance. So go to the next one, man.
All right, so number 7, remember that the burden is not all on you. So.
No, don't go past that one.
I'm
stuck on this one. I don't understand.
The burden's not on you. I'm trying to see what that means as well. Like, see.
So how do you tell a dad? How do you tell a dad who's struggling to get a job to feed his family if the burden's not on him?
I mean, listen, I don't necessarily agree.
But I'm just saying. I'm just asking the question. How?
I was just thinking about that. That would be a tough one to be in that position and not feel like, hey, I need to provide, or like that's not
the strength in numbers.
That's crazy. So no, I completely agree. Like some of these things I feel like are just routine things that people say.
Yeah.
Like, and try to, I think that almost ties back to that idea of like kind of, oh, racism is the issue or these other things are the issues versus it's just kind of I don't know. It's just
All right,
kind of a
let's go
deflector to me.
I found myself disagreeing with most of the
Yeah,
stuff.
that was actually the last. They only had 7 here for
Yeah.
us, and like I said, the list was shaky. It was some things that I feel like I could get down with or agree with here, but for the most part, yeah, I like your list better, Dad. We got to put that up online. I know you probably added something else, didn't you?
No, I just I'll run over again real quick. And again, I got,
Before we get out of here, yes.
One, be grateful. I think if you can focus on being grateful for what you have and what you don't have. And I use these tips myself. I do. Because it's always going to be something you don't have. But not most, a lot of people I travel in the circle, they have all the basic needs. Now, what they want is more, or what I find most people have a trouble distinguishing between a need and a want. You need food. You want a steak every night.
Yeah.
I think, so that's part of it. I think the other part, finding your purpose to me is important. I think when you find what you like to do, it brings joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like your screenwriting thing, that brings you joy.
Yeah.
So it kind of, so when you're doing that,
telling stories.
Yeah, so even though it may be a little frustration, it brings you joy. Find what your purpose is. And I think when you find, what I'm doing is my purpose, and it's draining, but I love it. It's not a chore for me. I don't have to force myself to do it. I never thought I'd be in this position. I'm working about 70 men right now. And it's cool. I'm in different schools, doing this stuff in different schools. A school called me up yesterday, can you come in today? Because we got the situation that went down. And it felt good. I need to come talk to these guys because they got in a bad situation yesterday. The cops got involved. It felt good. Your purpose and invest in yourself. I think a lot of us, we don't, especially as men, we spend so much time doing for others that we fail to invest in ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, find a hobby. It ain't got to be something rich, but invest. I love to read. I got books all over. And I'm probably reading 3 books at a time right now. I invest in myself, man. I just don't, even stuff I listen to other speakers. I just don't sit down and just, I'm not, my wife loves TV. I don't. So when we go upstairs tonight, I put my headphones on. I read chapter in the Bible in the morning. I read chapter before I go to bed. So you got to invest in yourself, man, and focus on what you can change. I'm guilty of this too. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself and you start worrying about all this stuff that you can't change.
Yes, true.
Instead of saying, okay, let me change what I can change in front of me. And part of it is how I think, how I see things, how I approach things, how I react to things.
I'm like that too.
Yeah.
I'm my father's son.
Seek like-minded individuals. To your point, you have friends. You don't need to run people having a pity party. I tell guys all the time, man.
Or unfocused
you get around a bunch of guys and all they do is complain about their wife, and you complain about your wife. And that's every time y'all get together, that's what y'all do. Mm-hmm. So now when you go home, you look at your wife cockeyed.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So get around like-minded people, man, and have positive discussions, man. You need to do that, man. Take long walks. I love the treadmill. I go on the treadmill. I'm cool. But your mom likes to walk. So in the morning, Devin, we get up in the morning. I walk with her.
I like to be active. I'm on the treadmill.
Because it's important. Just for us, I love going hitting golf balls. No big deal.
Trying to get better at that.
So my goal this year is I'm going to force myself to do more of that. Find stuff that you enjoy doing. I think is important, man. And listen to music. I love music.
I would say also note with that, maybe be mindful of the music.
I agree.
Because I do feel like at times it may
anybody to playlist, hit me up. I got you.
I don't know.
Take the same 10 songs I've been hearing.
Take time to meditate and you gotta take time to meditate or find me time. I think so many times we get so busy doing that we forget to just take time to be us. We get so busy worrying about meeting everybody else's needs that we fail to take time to be us. And I think especially as men, I'm not downplaying women, but as men, we got to make sure, because I say this all the time, you can't be anything for anybody else. And if you're not well for yourself, when you go in the airplane, what they tell you, when the mask comes down, put yours on first, because you can't help anybody else until you take care of yourself. That's the way life is.
I think it's hard for some people.
It's very hard. I know. I'm not.
Just to be in silence. I just feel like sometimes that bothers people.
You got to work at it. You got to work at it. But I used to be like that. Man, I love coming down.
Change.
I come down and I love sitting over there behind my desk by myself. I really do.
Just in silence?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I have backwards. Sometimes it's just silence. I'm reading. Sometimes I'll just sit there and breathe. Because sometimes I just need to just relax. My schedule during the week is crazy. It's 100 miles an hour.
I need to get better.
Then when other stuff start
Next thing
happening,
to
man,
do.
when other stuff start happening, like somebody hit, all that stuff, the car stuff, that stuff, my car been in the shop since March 1st. That other stuff starts to happen, man. It starts to pile up on you. So you got to take time to do those things, man. And then I think you can't compare yourself to other people, and that's easier said than done because we look around and we think somebody's in a similar situation, but yet they're doing better. Like when I'm counseling couples, and they'll say, "Well, my friends, man, and they wives don't act like that." No, they just ain't telling you that. But they got their issues behind closed doors too.
Everybody got the
You
issues.
just the only one putting yourself out there.
Very true.
Yeah, you just don't. So don't compare yourself to other people, man. Deal with yourself in your situation. Be the best you can be. And I do think, turn off the TV. I mean it, man. TV, man, that stuff. Whatever you feed grows stronger. So
be mindful of what you watch.
No, turn it off. You need to turn it off sometimes.
I'm in it.
But but you talking about health now. I'm not saying get rid of it. You need to sit down. When I was on the 40-day fast and TV was part of it, I felt better.
Yeah,
my mind was clear, man. It was crisper. I was thinking. I was on top of it. I was sharper.
I would agree.
Because what I'm saying, I'm not saying get rid of it. What I'm saying is some of us get so engulfed in TV, man, that it impacts our reality.
Yes.
Everything we say is based off the news. There's people I'll say something to, and I know what I'm talking about because I saw it, and they tell me what they heard in the news.
I try to just get multiple sources for the information.
But it's not just about information. Whatever you put in comes out, and sometimes you need to unplug. It's like when you reset a computer. Sometimes we need to unplug and reset ourselves. I'm not saying, for me, I look at very.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I've done like kind of the YouTube TV fast. Feel like I seldomly watch TV. Probably just more so sports and like news. But I do think you need to unplug, and that's why I keep coming back to just being mindful of what you watch.
And I'm not saying for forever,
because like you can still, there's quality content out there, and I feel
you
like
should be mindful. But
there's way for people to improve with.
But you still need a time where you just unplug.
Yeah,
you should anyway. You should be mindful of what you watch. But there's a time where you just need to unplug.
It's a balance.
Right, it's about you just need to unplug. Another thing, don't be afraid to analyze yourself, man. What did I do to contribute to the situation right now? Did I make a bad decision? Whatever you feed grows stronger.
Yes.
And whatever you leave unattended to is going to come back. So if you're not dealing with a situation, somebody told me today, well, I don't want to talk about it because, it's going to go away. No, it ain't. It's not going to go away. That means I'm going to forget about it. An adult said that to me last week. We were talking, and this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. And I didn't say that. I wanted to so bad. Somebody was telling me how their mom has cancer. This is perfect how you view life. And the mom was kind of using it to manipulate her. Because over a wedding or whatever. So mom was like, so I said, well, what about that? Well, dad doesn't really want to talk about it. So I said, sometimes the things you don't talk about can kill you. And some other person says, sometimes the things you don't talk about make things better. Says who? So how you look at life.
Yeah.
How you look at life. And another simple conversation. We're sitting there talking, and I was talking to a young lady. We were talking about dress. So I said, yeah. So I was teasing her. I said, yeah, man. I said, because I know her fiance. I said, yeah, he likes you dress a certain way. So, that means don't dress like a librarian. Some else says, well, I don't dress for my husband. I dress for me. And in my mind, I'm saying, that's why you look like you look. And that's a problem when people don't dress you, but how you look at life. You should want to please your mate. If they ain't asking nothing crazy, your mom picks out stuff for me all the time. Now she knows my style. She knows how to blend the two. But so I'm saying how you look at life matters. And that's why sometimes you got to look at yourself. It ain't everybody's fault. And then the last thing is you need to find somebody to talk to. Man, that's what the last thing on this list. What you do, you need to find somebody, to your point, a therapist, or you mentioned your friends. You need to have somebody that if all else fails, you can pick up the phone and say, look, hey, Frank, I'm having some, I got some issues, man. I need to talk to you. Without him getting on the phone, oh, guess what? He called me, And sometimes, check this out. There's sometimes you need to find somebody who's going to just listen.
Yeah. And not necessarily even respond sometimes.
Try to fix everything for you. Like if I'm talking to somebody and the first thing out their mouth is, this is what I would do, I ain't never going back to them again. I don't need you to tell me what you want to do. If you want to give me some advice, because we're in different situations. So I think it's important, man, that we did. But to your point, I think we need people need to make a list, and they don't, because we live in a time we react to everything. We wait until it happens, and then we come up with a response and saying, "Okay, this is my checklist of things I need to do. This is how I need to get myself off the cliff. This is how I need to reground myself." So I think it's really, really, really important, man.
So I feel like we kind of touched a lot of different things here today in terms
I'm proud
of
of myself.
kind of talking about life's ups and downs and how that impacts people and maybe some different ways that you can cope with it. We've researched some things online live here today, and you've seen this man come up with a list live that he want to share online at some point in time. But hopefully, we can all take in some of this information in regards to dealing with some stress. I know I'm probably going to personally do this. Like, I feel like
I'll send you my list.
Can see it for myself sometimes, get caught up in the rat race.
I'll send you my list, man.
Doing a bunch of things. So it's like, you just pile things on.
Well,
you do need to just kind of take that break.
Especially when you're trying to make money. I think sometimes you can be so focused on
trying
making
to build
money.
Something grand.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you get so focused on building something grand and chasing money that you forget about that you need to be in the right state of mind to use it. This lady told me something. It was funny because we were talking. I was at the doctor's. And we were asking, and we were talking about something. She said, "Yeah." She said, "You work hard, you do all this stuff." I said, "Yeah." She said, "So what your kids gonna buy when you die?"
What?
I said, "What you mean?" Because she said, "You're gonna work hard. You gonna leave everything to your kids." She said, "Your kids are gonna buy the car you want. They're gonna buy the house you want because you working hard, not enjoying your life. To people, you gonna leave what you work for to everybody else. So there needs to be a balance."
Yeah,
there needs to be a balance.
Yeah, I know and understand that. I mean, I feel like it's a part of it. What I'm doing is also passion. Like, I enjoy it. Part of I feel like maybe a little bit of purpose there for me. But of course, I mean, it could potentially be lucrative as well. So I'm not going to deny that. But I do think there were a ton of great things that we came up with here today that will be beneficial for anyone to deal with kind of the challenges of life and some of those ups and downs. So hopefully you enjoyed our conversation here tonight, everybody. And again, we're here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. Definitely
like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us. We had some people on YouTube and Instagram. We definitely appreciate it. Definitely spread the word and spread the love.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys next week.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Hobby.